Hi guys, and welcome back to the Quick Slant on Green Bay Packer Nation and greenbaypackernation.com. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about Aaron's opt-out clause and what that might mean for the Packers. Before we get started with that, as always, if you're new here and haven't subscribed yet, we'd love to have you hit that subscribe button and tap that bell notification so you get notified when we post a new video. So let's talk a little bit about Aaron's opt-out clause. I wanted to discuss, what the clause means, but start digging in further into kind of the trends in quarterback contracts over the past few seasons and what that might mean for the future of the NFL and the future of NFL quarterback contracts. So the opt-out clause, as I understand it, is basically that Aaron wants to be the highest paid quarterback in the league, and so he wants the ability to opt out if any quarterback cuts a deal for a bigger paycheck. Now, I will say that with this caveat. Aaron has said that this is mere conjecture. However, I will also say that he didn't say whether the conjecture was accurate or not. So, being the consummate speaker to the press, I think it's probably a legitimate expectation that he and his agent are asking for this opt-out clause. So. The trend over the last few seasons in quarterback contracts, I think, really has led up to this opt-out clause recommendation. The contract length has kind of gotten shorter over the course of the last few years. Aaron's current contract is a 7-year contract. Well, Russell Wilson cut a 5-year deal, and I believe Kirk Cousins' deal is for 3 years. Now, in the world of contracts, what they're theoretically doing in that situation is you cut a shorter deal, which allows you to either move on to a different team or renegotiate a higher contract for instance, with Kirk Cousins, after the 3 years is up, but you forego an overall paycheck. A bigger overall paycheck that a 7-year contract would grant you. So the question then, the risk that, let's say, Kirk Cousins is taking then is what happens if he has a career-ending injury in 3 years. There's none of that long-term guaranteed money that he was guaranteed, would have been guaranteed had he had a 5 or 7-year contract. So that's theoretically the trade-off, and those contracts have kind of gotten, the term of those contracts has gotten shorter and shorter as the time goes on. So the idea that Aaron would ask for this opt-out clause, it really feels like the next step for NFL quarterbacks. Maybe not necessarily for other player positions, but I would be interested in hearing what you think about that. But it does seem like a natural next step for an NFL quarterback. Here are my thoughts on the opt-out clause and what it might mean for the Packers and the league in general if the Packers were to agree to that kind of opt-out clause. Number one, does it suck that Aaron Rodgers has to play for less money than a far inferior quarterback? Yeah, it really does. I don't disagree with that. We've been watching him play. In fact, before Aaron's big contract, this last 7-year contract, watching Joe Flacco get $120 million, I had to laugh at it because he was now suddenly a higher paid quarterback than Aaron Rodgers, and all he had done was taken the Ravens to 1 Super Bowl, and really, that he got on a streak and got hot just at the right time. I think he's a fairly good starting quarterback, But he is not an elite quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. And here suddenly he was making more than Aaron Rodgers. There have been players who have got new deals this offseason that are now making more than Aaron Rodgers. I believe there are 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the league right now that make more than Aaron, which of course we know the Packers are going to get another deal done with him, and he will again be the highest paid quarterback. But there again will be quarterbacks that their contracts will be coming up and they'll get paid more. And so, yeah, it kind of sucks to see Aaron get paid less than some of these quarterbacks that just are far, far inferior to him in talent. That said, I would think that an opt-out clause would be a bad idea for the Packers and a bad idea for the league as a whole. I think of the NBA where almost every team has an elite marquee player that kind of has a stranglehold on the organization, where they're dictating who's going to be their coach and dictating what team they're going to play for by jumping from one contract to another. I don't want to see that happen in the NFL, and I think it happens a lot. Up until now, I thought it happened a lot in the NBA simply because the teams are smaller and the coaches have fewer options. But now I'm kind of second-guessing that with all this news about this opt-out clause. I'm starting to second-guess that and wondering if this is opening the doors to quarterbacks having a stranglehold on the brass that are running their organization. And the problem I have with that is that Aaron, more than most quarterbacks, Drew Brees is a very, very smart quarterback as well. But I would say Aaron, more than most quarterbacks in the league, not only knows football, but knows the business of football as well. That said, I still don't think he would have a very good grasp on what may or may not damage the long-term health of the organization. And, in my gut, especially since he has bought into ownership with the Milwaukee Bucks, in my gut, I would say that Aaron would never put the Packers in a position where the long-term health of the organization was at risk. But I would have probably said that about Brett Favre as well, up until the last few seasons he had with the Packers, where he started to get disgruntled with what was going on. And so even if this opt-out clause never caused a problem for the Packers, other quarterbacks allowing that to be a part of their team could damage the NFL as a whole, and we just don't want to see that. We're already struggling with keeping the NFL and football as we know it going, simply because we're trying to avoid injury as much as possible, which we all want to do, but it's causing teams to cut down on practice times and weakening their ability to be ready for week 1 of the season, things like that. Concussions, we're really trying to cut down on concussions, so we're changing like the kickoff rule again this year. So I just don't want to see something cause overall damage to the league, and I just feel like this opt-out clause is a bad idea. I'm not sure, and I want to know what you guys think about this. I thought about how the Packers might have a win-win situation with Aaron, and where they don't give him the opt-out clause, but they do allow him to maybe make more each year in relationship to other quarterbacks. I wasn't sure about, and I don't know, I don't have a really good grasp of the finances of either football or business in general, but I did wonder about the possibility of like a percentage of the salary cap, because the league has been bumping up the salary cap every season for quite some time, and I wondered if it were a percent, if his contract were based on a percentage of the salary cap, then he would be getting an increase every time the salary cap jumped. I'm not sure if that would be enough to push a contract up over, say, another quarterback cutting a bigger deal at the end of this year, but it might at least keep his contract increasing and his income increasing without damaging the long-term stability of the organization. So let me know what you guys think, and definitely if you know anybody who might like to watch the shows, share this with them, and until next time, go Pack.